Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukhdam Kevalam Jnana Murtim Dvandvatitam Gagan Sadrisham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adorations to Sadguru, his Guru Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha, Upashama Prakarana, Section 80 continues. Inquiry, the role of inquiry that promotes Vairagya, dispassion, in a highly allegorical manner. An aspirant has come to a very advanced stage, and he is as if talking to every part of his personality. Especially he begins with the eyes. O eyes, all that you see, whatever lies before you are lies. And you are clever, you know it. Therefore you go on winking. Nothing sticks to your eyes. So learn lesson from it. Just like your eyes encounter so many things. And then nothing is there in your eyes. Eyes go on winking, shaking them all off. Mind goes on encountering so many things. But Viveka Buddhi, intuitive intellect, is developing within you. You have a mystic eye. That mystic eye that practices sakshi bhavana. You begin to see all this through a subtle vision. And how can you see better if the vision doesn't get distorted? Vision remains secure. And then you go on recognizing everything that happens in your mind is mental projection created by mind's magic. And then who am I? Who am I is the goal of your vichar, inquiry process. And it is accomplished when your vision is not affected by your ego. If ego gets involved in your sakshi bhavana, then you are not sakshi, you are not witness. A witnessing agent falls for one party by delusion. So he is looking for that party to win, not the other party. Then that's the loss of sakshi bhavana. Sakshi bhavana is equal. Look, Pain comes, look at it. Pleasure comes, look at it. Prosperity, adversity. All that happens in your mind, look at that. Nothing is going to stay. Because all that is happening in and through your mind is like a cinema show. If you are lacking vivek, then everything that is happening is impacting your mind, your personality. You are being led by law of karma. Now with your best of your intellect, all that you want is to have a comfortable life, a good retirement, a wonderful nursing home. And getting out of all this, a wonderful rebirth. For the vast majority of people, that is the reality. Anything else means meaningless. But for spiritual movement, this is a complete lie. And one should not be deluded by this type of predicament of coming back into different embodiments. That world is based on mental projections. Mental projections, vrittis of the mind. Thought waves go on creating the world of time, space, causation. In your daily life, you have little rehearsal of getting out of projections. And that happens when you are in deep sleep. The projections really don't get out. You cannot get out of them. But even in the cinema show, screen has dropped. I mean, a change of curtain develops even within the show. Not going into too much trouble about it. The basic point, in deep sleep, you lose all that your mind was entertaining, enjoying, remembering of the past, thinking of the future, planning for your schemes, countless things. And it all moves away. And you miss nothing about it. That has to settle deep in your heart. Because that is real you, is not dependent upon all this. Real you is joyous when all this slips away. But how to secure it? Sleep doesn't secure it. You wake up and you follow the same process. But there is a sleepless sleep of samadhi. Intuitive experience is described like a sleep, but not normal sleep, sleepless sleep, a mystic. And in order to attain that level, you introduced to your mind a path of mystic life. That's called affirmation. Just relax your mind. And then start telling your mind, look, you are not body, you are not mind, you are not intellect, you are Satchidananda. The whole world is nothing but Satchidananda. All names and forms change. Existence does not change. Existence in itself, that is unalterable. Knowledge of things go on changing. But knowledge, pure consciousness in itself, is unalterable. Experience of joy, hops, happiness, hops around, goes on shaking. But what is behind all those little happinesses that hop is a happiness in itself, bliss in itself. That's absolute ananda. So Satchidananda is your reality, and now you are putting into your mind that affirmation. This type of practice people do in Yoga Nidra. They know that everything that you are telling to your mind is not real. After your practice is over, you are going to go after your ducks. I'm joking. But the idea is, it has a profound impact on your mind. If you give time to your body to allow it to relax, and in that relaxed state, open your mind to a positive dimension. Even though it may seem artificial. But thinking of wonderful breeze is blowing, Shital, Manda, Sugandha. Peacocks are dancing everywhere. I'm extending it through imagination. But that type of imagination must move into, in a spiritual way, that I am not the body, mind, I am Satchidananda. This is the highlight of the theme that you are being presented. Coming to the exact statements made by Vasishtha. O Chitta, this is how the aspirant is talking to his own mind. First he talked to his eyes, thereby implying all the senses. Now he is talking to the Chitta. The talking movement starts with the Chitta itself. But that's the role of affirmation. Affirmation starts in your limited mind. But affirmation develops a mystic finger. So even though the limited mind is looking at the fingers, but suddenly they begin to look at where the fingers are pointing. So fingers are not important. O Chitta, you are merely the sustainer of reflections. To understand all that happens in and through the Chitta is in the realm of Maya, a magical show. Nothing is permanent. So your goal is never attained as long as Chitta is limiting your vision. Why then should you become affected by the reflected forms caused by your limited eyes? When looking into a mirror, the face, the mirror, and the reflection in the mirror all are different from each other. Your whole project, as again and again Yoga Vasistha turns, seeing your face in the mirror of your Chitta. That's the whole purpose of your Chitta. But once you have seen your face in a mirror, you don't turn to the mirror, at least on that day. But that I am joking. In other words, this normal looking into the mirror never reveals who you are. But even so, this much becomes clear, that once you have seen your face, you don't need the mirror. Following that illustration, which is highly mystical, having removed mala, vikshepa and avarana, mala is like dust over the mirror. Its dust has to be cleaned by karma yoga. Vikshepa is like a shaking hand that shakes the mirror. The shaking movement or vikshepa is corrected by bhakti and raja yoga, devotional movement and dhyana yoga, practice of meditation. And when mala and vikshepa, the dust has been removed, hand doesn't shake, now what you see is a completely surprising, allegorically speaking, your head suddenly bends down. And since you have a lot of hair on your head, the hair veils your vision. But that's not a big job. Day by day you do the same thing. Hairy people, when they talk, they go on shaking their heads. It's not a big thing. That's called a removal of avarana, which doesn't require any effort, rather a joy of your head. And that's done by jnana. So when all that has been accomplished, you don't need the Chitta anymore. And all that Chitta had produced, you don't need to hold on to that. During the state of mala, how did Chitta bring about distorted view of yourself? During vikshepa, how your Chitta brought about so many tragic situations. Life is filled with it. But all that is in the realm of dream, maya. And when the Chitta has come to reveal that, and when it is not needed anymore, then that Chitta turns into Chit, pure awareness. And that's what it means. Simple way of saying, now you come to realize, Aham Brahmasmi. I am that am I. And that I am alone exists. There is nothing, there is no duality, nothing other than I am. It is the wax of ignorance that has glued the Chitta to the objects of the world. Another figurative way of saying, when you see through the mirror of your mind, and it creates malas, gross impurities, vikshepas, distractions, and all experiences, countless. But all of them are linked together by ignorance. Ignorance is the glue. The glue behind it, the magic glue. O Chitta, you create your own bondage, like a spider that has become entangled in its own web. Every soul is responsible for his bondage and for his release. But all this drama from bondage to release occurs in and through the Chitta. And whatever the Chitta brings about is like a spider bringing about a web. And Chitta brings about a lot of negative impressions. Now we'll look at Chitta. It has become a spider that is being confined to such an extent that it can't operate. Chitta becomes so limited and goes through the experience of boundless sorrow. But what caused all that sorrow? The Chitta that itself had woven the web. And that's what we study through website. You create the web of thoughts and desires and then allow yourself to be limited and conditioned by them. Now, the moral behind it, since you are responsible to lead yourself to limitation, to bondage, the other way around, you are responsible, you are the one who will lift yourself by yourself. Uddharet atmanatmanam. You liberate your own soul by your own self-effort. Endeavor to destroy the self-created web by the practice of serenity, self-control, spiritual inquiry. Now, therefore, how to get out of this web created by the Chitta. Allow that Chitta to give passage. The same Chitta now that worked to create a whole network of negative karmas. Now turn the table. Allow that Chitta to create positive karmas through satsanga. And satsanga-based sadhana, serenity, shama, dhamma, controlling the mind and senses, vichar, spiritual inquiry. These are some of the points being mentioned. Many others are implied. Even this Chitta itself is not the reality. It is annihilated when ignorance is destroyed. Chitta supports samskaras, and samskaras lead the soul to the illusion of cycles of birth and death. When you have attained enlightenment, when Chitta has given passage to the practice of serenity, shama, santosh, profound contentment, satsang, good association, vichar, inquiry. I'm pointing to those 4 gatekeepers of liberation. All other virtues are implied in this movement. Same Chitta that goes on creating negativity. Once you are following the path presented by scriptures through a right way, through the Guru's guidance, under satsanga guidance, put it in a very simple way, the same notes that sound as melody, not melody. Put them into rhythmic tune. But in order to do that, be guided by an expert musician. Don't go to a donkey. Just as an evil spirit is driven from a temple, so too the Chitta must be driven from the temple of your heart. Because as long as Chitta exists, the senses will continue to be fed with illusion. This points to another great statement from the scriptures. Deho devalayo prokto. Just like consider your body as a divine temple and perform the highest form of worship. A worship that turns Jiva into Shiva. Worship that removes impurities and Jiva, individual soul, begin to reveal its essential nature. Once that movement starts, the very body that you needed becomes like a withering flower. And you throw away withering flower. It's called an act of nirmalyam. Deho devalayo prokto. Jivo deva sada Shiva. Tyajet agyan nirmalyam. Soham bhavena pujita. For removing the impurity of ignorance, you as if put your whole personality in your palm and throw it away. Instead, bring Aham Brahmas. Cast out the devil from your temple. And let the divine shine in the temple. Simple way of saying, understand you are not Jiva, you are Shiva. Ego-identified vision will keep you as a Jiva, individual soul. And you are in a strange predicament. You can't be destroyed. So, you go on coming back, experiencing cycles of birth and death. You experience countless deaths, and still you are never dead. And that's profound misery, to stay a Jiva. But by nirmalyam, allowing a project of negating body, mind, intellect, negating the very personality. I am not this personality. I am not the brain and nervous system. All that is presented by your nervous system. They are like so many files that you experience through your website. Nothing is real. One little disturbance in the weather, all the files can be dumped. So, don't be too proud of the word. But while we say all this, another aspect has to be understood. All this that you have can be utilized for paving the way to enlightenment. Your physical body is needed. Now, if you want enlightenment, Allow your body to go through yoga exercises, build up strength, a right type of nutrition, and allow your mind to have the strength of will. Allow your intellect to have clarity of understanding. Allow your ego to experience how to bow down and how it is good to feel flexibility in the neck. So all that, same Chitta that has given you all the trouble, now same Chitta will give you all these steps. The final stage, the entire Chitta moves away. And you are left with pure Chit, pure consciousness. And that's your absolute reality. Keeping that goal in view, as if the aspirant is talking to his Chitta. O Chitta, you are grieving in vain. When you see your mind bringing sorrowful thoughts, and you become so enmeshed with the mental portrayal of tragic experience, that as if you are being destroyed along with your mental negativity. Now, if you do sadhana, you will not come to that predicament. You will find yourself witnessing your adversity. And adversity has not drowned you, but it has presented itself for you to decide what to do with it. If you are following spiritual guidance, you will turn that adversity into austerity. You will handle that adversity with all practical common sense, leaving no stone unturned. But behind this skill of handling, your mind understands who is really doing all this. The more you have Godward vision, Godward surrender, greater is your skill in handling your trouble. And greater is the miracle of grace. Because if you are in a miserable state, suffering from a disease, you are brought into a hospital. But what type of nurses will come to you? What type of doctors will deal with you? Will they prescribe the right type of medicine or not? All this is not completely accidental. If you are following a spiritual path, deep down you understand you are being led by divine hand. And you have all the needed insight, what to take, what not to take, which doctor to go to. And all that automatically your own conscience begins to bring out subtle insight. All this is happening by act of grace. So, Chitta, grieving in vain, I have discovered the method of annihilating you, dumping the entire Chitta. You have a beginning as well as an end. Every story of the Chitta comes under the formula, even this will pass away. You are very proud something has happened. Okay, but it will pass away. You are very miserable, something negative has happened. Even this will pass away. You have faced death after death. Death is most horrible experience. But it has passed away. Now you are a baby, showing your teeth, bringing your tongue out in a cute manner. All this has passed away. Horrible things have passed away. So, but not stay in that predicament. Follow the mantra, even this will pass away, to keep your mind focused on the goal of enlightenment. Your movement to enlightenment, situations, circumstances, bodily conditions, all this cannot restrict if you are developing sadhana in daily life. O Chitta, why then do you frighten me by your rumblings? Chitta brings a lot of worrisome thoughts. You are lying in your bed, you are being crushed. And now if you are endowed with that spiritual strength of sadhana, you put your blanket over your nose and turn to your Chitta. Stop this business. I'm going home. So why do you frighten me by your rumblings and grumblings? I am the self, the detached self that sustains your illusory existence. All the projections of the Chitta are sustained by pure consciousness. That pure consciousness is I am. So the screen is talking to the projected show. Don't frighten me. Bring out your vampires. Show your teeth full of blood. But I am untouched by you. Don't frighten me. Oh, wicked Chitta. This highly intelligent state of mind. You are saying wicked Chitta, not in ordinary way, as you would say to people who are wicked. All that it implies, you are developing vairagya. The Chitta-based existence is not your reality. That's the purpose behind all scriptures. So, O wicked Chitta, you and the senses cannot cause joy or sorrow in my heart. Why do you allow yourself to be consumed by worrying over objects of the world, which are only like some magic show of a magician? Things become more and more worrisome when you allow your mind to be addicted to grief. And that is a subtle point. If you don't have any sadhana, etc., then you are living a life of addiction. A day passes and there is nothing to worry about. You feel bored. But the moment you hear some terrible thing has happened, you give up your bed, sit before your TV. Let's know what has happened. I'm joking. This acute disease of grief, that is what has to be cured. This is a bhava-vyadhi, disease of the world process. In one word, shok. And for curing it, first you have to introduce to your Chitta that all that you are grieving about, they are not worth grieving for. You are grieving about your long life. Suddenly you come to realize you can't live long. Well, is long life an answer? So what you are grieving for is not worth grieving for. Whatever you are grieving about, they are not worth grieving for. That point the mind has to understand. And this point is brought out in the Gita. Lord Krishna commences his teachings by the word Ashvachyananva shochastvam prajnavadanscha vasase. He tells Arjuna, all that you are stating is so many people are dying and this and that. They are not worth grieving for. They are following their own law. Nothing wrong is going to happen. And now you are grieving. And he goes through all the 18 chapters. And the last statement, Ma Shucha, don't grieve. So Ashvachyananva shochastvam begins the Gita. You are grieving about things not worth grieving for. Therefore, don't grieve. This is the essence of the Gita. The essence of all religions. Instead of saying grief, philosophy talks about pain, heya, arya satyani. There is a pain, there is a cause of pain. There are steps leading to removal of pain, and there is termination of pain. The same pain is grief. Grief is a better word for pain. O Chitta, it does not matter to me whether you continue to exist or cease to exist, because you are not mine. I do not belong to you. This subtle point that nothing that Chitta has brought relates to the real I am. Therefore, the divine statement, nothing exists, nothing belongs to me. The illusion of me and mine created by egoism, not your real identity, but a mistaken identity. Ego is an illusion. By the force of inquiry, I have discovered the fact that you are already dead. This Vichar movement comes to realize what is unreal. The entire Chitta-based information, they are nothing but pure ignorance. And ignorance is nothing but darkness. And darkness, when you chase the darkness by light, you don't see darkness lying down anywhere. You don't see itself burnt up into ashes. So darkness is not a substance. Ignorance is not a substance. Otherwise, by the time you get enlightened, the loads and lots of ashes of ignorance will be around. O Chitta, for a long, long time, you have deprived me of the shining treasures of the spirit in the form of now bringing this into your own Chitta. What should you be attending on? Instead of just going after the worries and anxieties of the world. And here the profound teaching. Instead of wasting time, go after the shining treasures of the spirit in the form of good association. Satsanga is of profound value. You cannot even imagine it. And developing virtuous qualities such as serenity, self-control, practice of inquiry, and attaining wisdom. O evil, wicked Chitta, now get out of my residence. And don't forget to take with you your she companions. And who are they? Cravings, anger, greed, passion, and all impurities. Go with your whole household. And with this I'm going to conclude. And we offer prayer. May Karunamaya Ras of divine grace shower over all of you. And may all of you be awakened to the goal of life. Otherwise, the world itself is not the real solution. All the business can come back, and all parties will start again, and all the news will be filled with countless miseries as well as vanities, etc. I'm not understand. This is more like a wit. Wishing for happiness and progress in the world, that's the purpose behind all saintly goodwill. So that goodwill, that people should become relaxed, etc., is perfectly normal and praiseworthy. But it has a purpose. Why should you be happy and prosperous? So that you can come to satsanga. So that you can discover your amazing potentiality and find those gatekeepers. Don't bribe them. And attain liberation. So may God shower His grace over all of you. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukma Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyama Mritat Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchid Dukha Bhag Bhavet Om Shanti 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 Om Om Shri Ramaya Namah Om Shri Ramaya Namah Om Shri Ramaya Namah Om Shri Krishnaya Namah Om Shri Krishnaya Namah Om Shri Krishnaya Namah Om Shanti Shanti Shanti